You all right? It's me, Nathan Djiga, full of the joys of spring, winter at the start of the day. Monday, 11 p.m. deadline day. Didn't expect to go into Tuesday, but we are buzzing. Here's Keane, Wolves reporter. Yay, deadline day. Love it, don't we? Oh, Keno.
What an intro.
Keno. Oh, God, I'm so tired. 17 hours and going, and it looks like it's going to be 18 or 19. Yeah, interesting day. Very Wolvesy indeed. Let's talk about the highlights. It took a long time for the highlights to be confirmed, but two new signings through the door, both permanent deals, both on decent contracts as well.
Yes, we're in the early hours. I officially was meant to be working at 2 p.m. Of course, I was on about 9 o'clock this morning.
I can see the sun coming up.
Yeah.
Sun's bloody coming up in Dorridge.
You've cut me halfway through my joke there, and obviously you started at about 9 p.m. Just to take all of the credit.
Great banter.
Just to take all the credit.
I'm not. Just stop chatting shit, and I don't care. I've had enough of this time. We'll be on the witching hour. We can say profanities. It's past 9 p.m. I'm not having it. Get on with it. Talk to me about.
Well, the good news is the Wolves have got 2 signings over the line on transfer deadline day. They made it a very exciting, God knows what you're doing there. They made it a very exciting deadline day for all of us. I mean, we knew all about the names very early on and then just sat around waiting for them to get done. But yes, let's start with the centre-back.
Hit me.
Wolves missed out on Kevin Danzo. They desperately wanted a centre-back. We reported on Sunday night, the day before deadline day, that Nasser Djiga at Red Star Belgrade was one of the players that they were going to look at amongst a few, and he's the one that they moved for in the end. They had a 10 million bid, roughly around 10 million pounds bid, accepted by the Serbian side, and there was a little bit of drama because, as in a similar fashion to the Danzo move falling through with Spurs hijacking it, Galatasaray, who we will be speaking about a few times in this video, attempted to come in and steal him away from Wolves. But the player, which has gone down very well with supporters, turned around and said, no, I want Wolves. I want the Premier League. He flew over to Paris. He met some of the Wolves chiefs. I love the commentary you're giving me. Some of the Wolves chiefs that flew over there to get work permits and medicals and the whole lot done, signed, sealed and delivered. 5.5-year contract with a 12-month option. Done and dusted.
You absolutely love to see it. One gone in, a proper Wolf. Give me number 2, baby.
And number 2 also flew. I say flew. He wouldn't have flown because he was only about 2 hours down the road in France. Marshal Munetsi. Ron, if that's pronounced correctly. Travelled over to Paris as well. Got the medical done, work permits, the whole lot. Roughly £50 million move, 28-year-old defensive midfielder, and he's exactly what Vitor Pereira was asking for. He's strong, he's physical,
big boy.
Absolutely. To Wolves' credit, it's taken them a little bit too long to get it done. But with Agbadou coming in previously, with Cunha signing his contract, and with these 2 players coming through the door, they've given Vitor Pereira exactly what he wanted, and they've invested enough money. Fosun have invested enough money. Jeff Shee and Matt Hobbs have got them over the line.
Over 40 million quid, Liam.
And they've given Vitor Pereira what he asked for. And the pressure now is on the head coach and the players to go and perform and keep this great club in the Premier League.
Yeah, look, it's good news overall. I think I put a poll out earlier on and said, what do you think of the window as a whole? Obviously, you've got to bring Agbadou into that as well, and the majority said good. Not great, but good. Some people say okay, but I think it's between good and okay. And realistically, the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? We will only know that in 3 or 4 months' time, probably. But I think that from where Wolves were, let's say a week ago, and as you say, Cunha signing the new deal, and then these 2 players, a defender and a midfielder in there, both on long-term contracts. Remember, we were talking about potential loan deals as well and options, but to get them signed, sealed, and be Wolves players long-term, that's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Munetsi, I didn't mention it when speaking about him previously, is a 3.5-year contract with a year option on top of that as well. So they're both down to relatively long contracts, both on permanent moves, both pretty decent outlays alongside Agbadou. And I think a few days can be a long time in football, can't it? You've got Agbadou as the only signing. All of a sudden, you beat Villa. Cunha signs a new contract, and you bring 2 deadline day signings in, and it feels like a much better window. I think if I was to judge the window as a whole, I would say maybe 7.5 out of 10, maybe roughly. I think that's probably fair. If we were to be a little bit picky, we would say another forward would have been great, especially with Larson injured. I think the timing of the signings could have been better because you ideally would have wanted them earlier in the window, but Wolves were in a position where they needed a lot of dominoes to fall, and they obviously missed out on Danzo and other players before moving to these players that they did get. So all of that combined, I think, probably puts it at roughly about that. And before that, it would have been much lower. So it's worked out to be a pretty decent window overall, and they've been able to balance the squad with an outgoing as well. And I think they give Pereira and the squad a very good chance of staying in the Premier League. There's been investment, there's been players through the door, and when I look at Agbadou, I think he's done very well, especially in recent weeks. Munetsi looks like a player at 28 who will be able to step into the Premier League straight away. Whether he starts the first game, of course, is yet to be seen, but I think he could step in straight away and play. Djiga at 22, maybe we need a little bit of time to adapt. Doc and Agbadou and Totti are probably going to start maybe the next couple of games, but brings competition, is another player for the future financial investment as well. So I think overall it's been a pretty decent window. Yeah,
and both had their medicals in Paris today. You didn't think they were trying to pull the wool over there and saying, "Welcome to Wolverhampton, boys." That large tower, the Manda Centre. Yeah, very good, very good, very good shopping. Look, good to see him signed, sealed, and delivered. Even though it was a little bit later than we thought it was going to be. Let's go on to the exit then today, or the main exit. I say today, Mario Lemina hasn't been confirmed as we record this at this moment in time, but all gone through. €2.5 million deal to Galatasaray. As you said, we're going to talk about that. Of course, the Turkish window is still open, so there's no problems with that. They can announce it whenever they want to announce it. But he was pictured in Turkey earlier on today, and that's gone through, and probably best for all parties, Liam. I would have thought.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as you say, €2.5 million, roughly £2 million. A little bit below Wolves' valuation, but they got to the point where the Saudi Arabia move didn't go through before their window closed. Galatasaray showed some interest already with a loan option, which obviously with him being out contract in the summer, albeit that 12-month option wasn't really going to work for Wolves. They came back with some money, less than what they wanted, but it was the means to an end, really. They had to, for all parties, for Lemina's sake, for his own head. I mean, he clearly was struggling and didn't want to be at Wolves, for the club moving forward, for the dressing room, for the culture, for the atmosphere, and for getting a little bit of cash in as well for a player, as I say, out of contract. It seemed like the right move. As you say, the Turkish window closes on the 11th of February. As the time of recording, it's not been announced by Galatasaray. We're expecting no issues, and it will go through without any fault. So that could be announced at any point. Could be Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. But that should be no concern whatsoever.
4 o'clock this morning, but I tell you what, I'm not getting up for
exactly, it. Yeah, but no, look, I think it's for 18 months or so, he was fantastic in a Wolves shirt. Had a 6-month spell this season where he really struggled, then wanted to leave and down tools when the club were struggling. He'll have his own reasons for that. I think it's poor still. I think he's let himself down. At the same time, look, as I say, he'll have his own reasons. I just think it's more than anything, I think it's sad. I think it's a shame to end his Wolves career that way. And fortunately, the club can move on now and hobefully stay in the Premier League without having this sort of cloud hanging over them.
Yeah, it's sad. It's also incredibly selfish for me, Liam. Just completely trounce any kind of goodwill that Wolves fans will have towards him. Yes, he did have a great spell, but at the same time, you're not going to be remembered fondly at all for the way that he down tools when the club needed him the most. So that's Mario Lemina gone, and good riddance from my point of view. Anyway, let's talk about the deal that was a shock deal this morning. That from absolutely nowhere, swap deal, including Craig Dawson and the return of, which got people very, very excited.
Wow.
I haven't done that for a long time. Connor Cody. Look, it made sense on quite a few levels, actually. One that I don't think anyone saw coming. Quite rightly, because it didn't happen in the end. But from what we believed, and obviously getting fans' consensus, they thought it was a very smart deal. And actually, I thought it'd be a very smart deal from Wolves. They couldn't get it over the line, though.
No, and similar to a lot of Wolves fans, I'm disappointed they weren't able to get it over the line, because I think for all parties, for both clubs, for both players. I think it was a move that made a lot of sense. Dawson is clearly down the pecking order under Vitor Pereira. Wolves have just signed another centre back as well, and he can go and play. I would expect that he would have got some game time at Leicester. I mean, struggling down there with Wolves, and I think he would have improved then. To be honest, whether that's a good thing from Wolves' perspective or not, I don't know. But
you'd improve Leicester's back line.
Thank you. So I think for him it would have made sense. Cody obviously isn't playing there at the moment as well. For Wolves to move a player on that wasn't playing and bring a player in that, let's be honest, he probably wouldn't have played a lot of games or a lot of minutes for Wolves between now and the end of the season, but he would have done wonders for the culture, the dressing room, the atmosphere, a proper leader, a good character. I think that was a no-brainer, really. And if they could do it on a swap deal, I think it would have been ideal for both clubs. And for Cody, we believe he was very, very keen on that move, and will be disappointed not to have made it. And for Dawson, there was a possibility he could have gone elsewhere in this window on this final deadline day before, after this move fell through. But in the end, it came down to Leicester. Leicester didn't want to press ahead with it. Leicester pulled out. It was very early negotiations at the time, and the deal got cancelled. And unfortunately, all parties have to move on.
Yeah, in terms of other moves, there's some peripheral moves, I guess, Liam. In terms of some of the younger players, a couple of loan deals, and also the likes of Carlos Forbes, Tommy Doyle, who we talked about, they're both staying.
Yeah, Doyle sticking around, I think makes sense as well. Lamine has gone out. Be interesting what happens with him and Boubacar Traoré. Bellegarde as a midfield option now. I think Vitor Pereira can't complain at the lack of options, certainly. Whether he trusts Doyle enough to play him in enough games is another thing. And I'm a fan of Tommy Doyle. I think he's a very good footballer, but he's clearly not at the top of the pecking order under Pereira in a midfield too. So that will be one to keep an eye on. But he sticks around. Forbes, as you say, he wasn't playing, hasn't impressed. Unfortunately, wanted to go back to Ajax. Ajax wanted him. Wolves wanted a little bit of cash for that deal, but weren't able to get a replacement in, and that didn't come to fruition. So he sticks around to the end of the season. We'll see how his loan deal. You would expect that there's no chance he'll become permanent. He needs to play a lot of games between now and the end of the season, so that's not going to happen. And then, a couple of the young lads. Chiré was back on the bench, wasn't he, for the Villa game after his Derby loan, which didn't work out for him. Had a lot of injuries. Only played 6 times for them. He goes to Huddersfield on loan, drops down a division.
Trio of Wolves plays at Huddersfield.
Nigel Longvick and Joe Hodge there as well. Drops down into League One to get some game time there. So hopefully a much better spell for him in the second half of the season, because he has got a lot of talent. And then we've seen Lembikisa go to Barnsley as well. A really disappointing move for him, going to Switzerland. So hopefully back in England, back at a level he's played at, and hopefully he can go out and get some vital minutes.
Yeah, interesting one. Look, I think if we were to be greedy and picky, like you said earlier on, it'd be nice to have maybe got a forward in there with the way things are, and Strand Larsen down at this moment in time. But you look at that squad, Liam. You look at that squad that they've got between now and the end of the season, and that should be enough to stay in this Premier League. I mean, I really am confident about that. I'll run a poll tomorrow ahead of the podcast. I think that the majority of people will probably, from about 25 or 30%, thinking they stay up after this Aston Villa win, after the deadline day that they've had. I'm pretty sure that this will be over 50% that they think will stay in the league, and I would put it at 80-20 at this moment in time, 90-10. I'm that confident. I really am. These guys have shown they've got quality. They've added to that as well, with more quality. And, not only that, like you say, Pereira's got a lot of options now, and there's going to be some big players who are not going to be in match day squads, not going to be on the bench if everybody stays fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone like Dawson again springs to mind instantly. If everyone's fit, he might be struggling to find a place on the bench. Again, one of the midfielders, possibly. Although I suppose Bellegarde could be used as a forward option as well. So, yeah, with everyone fit, you will have players out. Unfortunately, as much as it's never nice to see players drop out, priority is Wolves, and particularly in a relegation battle. And Pereira, as I said at the very top of this video, he's got what he wanted. The owners have invested enough to bring those players in. It's now down to you to do the business. Keep this club in the Premier League. Now, I think he's shown, and the players have shown, there's enough quality there to do it. At the same time, it's also going to be a big challenge. They're going to have to step up to that challenge big time and hope that some of these players adapt very quickly to what is a difficult league to adapt to. But Agbadou's made a good start. Munetsi, I think, has got capability of coming straight in with his age, experience, his physicality, and then it'd be interesting to see how Djiga gets on. But yeah, I think they've added in the areas they needed to. The squad's a bit more balanced. It's not perfect, but it's better, and they're in a much stronger position to hopefully go on and stay up.
Magic 8 Ball time. Will the additions plus the squad they've got mean that Wolverhampton Wanderers stay in the Premier League this season? Magic 8 Ball, do your thing. Reply hazy, try again.
This could be anything.
Come on, baby. Will they stay in the Premier League?
Great content, this.
Better not tell you now. Oh, God. Even the Magic 8 Ball's knackered. He's had enough. Can't do it again. Crikey. We'll see you all for the Wolves Poddy on Thursday from me, from Keno. Good night. Sleep well, because we need a drink. Take care. Bye-bye.